So I was the fifth of 9 kids. My father would pick us up on the weekends and throw you in the back of a truck and say, "That's your brother, that's your sister," and we would just drive off.
Sebas Bastian, all the way from the Bahamas. He's the founder and CEO of unbelievable businesses like Island Luck.
My 20s was all about business and focusing on business. I put in the hours, and as I needed help, I had the humility to know what the things that I wasn't good at and the things that I didn't like to do. As you go from business to business, you realize that there's never no shortage of good ideas, and you have to learn early on how to say no to something.
Every entrepreneur I talk to has one idea that they hold to be true. What's yours?
Hello, family. This week's guest is Sebas Bastian, all the way from the Bahamas. He's the founder and CEO of unbelievable businesses like Island Luck, which is the #1 gaming business in the Bahamas, as well as Wise Technology Group, which is one of the largest technology aggregators across the Caribbean. He joins us this week on this podcast, Ideas That Matter. We talk life, early lessons, failures, business, and legacy. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to learn about how to scale your business, you don't want to miss this episode. Enjoy the episode. Sebastian. So there are very few people I meet who meet the classical definition of insanity. You're definitely one of them. In a positive and a creative sense. So for the audience watching this, give me a sense of how Sebastian grew up.
Wow. Well, I was born and raised here in Nassau, Bahamas. So, my single mother, but my father was always in my life. So I was the fifth of 9 kids. My father would pick us up on the weekends and throw you in the back of a truck and say, "That's your brother, that's your sister," and we would just drive off. And, it's amazing because, he had, 9 kids for 5 different women, but
Wow.
somehow, some way, his way to interlock the family in such a way where to this day, all of my siblings, were like this.
Incredible.
So, that's one of the traits that I picked up from him, less than 9 kids.
Right.
But, so growing up in a single family home with my mom, I was exposed to that side hustle from both my parents. They both had primary jobs, but they always did something on the side. For my mom, it was selling Easter baskets and selling Valentine baskets and selling cakes. And that side hustle, fueled her ability to buy, a home to put us in and take us on at least one vacation a year, per se. My father, he had a restaurant, and his nickname was Smiley. His name is Edwin Smiley Bastian. His nickname was Smiley. And I always found out, why is your nickname Smiley? Because when he was young, he always was smiling. So they
Right.
Smiley. And he had a slogan that says, "A day without Smiley is a day wasted." And that was his slogan on his restaurant. So out of his 9 kids, for whatever reason, he chose me to pick up every Saturday. And he took me to the restaurant from 7 years old. So I was flipping steaks at the restaurant from I was 7. And that taught me at a very young age, customer service, how to budget, profit and loss, because he would make me calculate everything that we had bought that day, all this, the cost of the meat, cost of the wrapping papers, all that stuff, and I total it up. When I turned 14, or 13 or 14, for my birthday, he turned the business over to me in a kind of a quasi way, and now I was able to keep the profits from what we made that weekend on that particular day. This is a Saturday grill. So, I was 100% invested. I was the first one there, last one to leave. And that really sparked my entrepreneurial kind of journey. Later went off to, graduated primary school, went to St. Augustine's, which is a local high school here that's everyone's dream to go to.
Right.
Well, that didn't last very long. We got divorced in grade 9. We had
You divorced the school.
Yeah. In grade 9, yeah, we went our separate ways, and the only school that would take me was an Adventist school, and called Bahamas Academy. And I think that was kind of one of the turning points in my life, because it was shell shock, man. I went from a school that had the best basketball team, the best football, the best softball team, the best everything, the best campus, best girls, everything about it. It was just a child's dream to go there. And then I went to this small little school that was that didn't serve certain things in terms of the food and all that, and it was different, but it was a turning point in my life because I went from one of many to one of few, meaning it was
Wow.
a smaller school.
Wow.
The relationship between student and teachers it was a little bit more intimate, and I think that's when I really found my footing, and I had teachers that not just believed in me with and what in their words, but in high school I had teachers that because I'd learned to build computers when I was in high school. I used to wander into the IT room of my mother's work because once I got suspended from St. Augustine's and I went to the Adventist school. Well, I got suspended 3 months after I joined the new school. Nothing for anything mischief. What happened was I found this opportunity. There was a restaurant across the street. The food on campus was horrible, so I started to smuggle chicken snacks and conch snacks from across the street onto the campus. And I would charge a $2 markup. What I didn't know was that the Adventist faith, they don't eat shellfish. And here I am loading the campus up with shellfish.
Oh.
I had no idea. It was just $2. It's $2 a plate. I'm just calculating the numbers. So 3 months in, I got suspended. My mom thought it was a good idea to play a closer hand on me. So the bell would ring 3 o'clock, and 3:01 she was parked there, making sure I had no time to goof off. And then she would take me to her work, and I had to sit in the hot car until she got off. So being me, that lasted a week, and then I started to pretend that I needed to use the bathroom. So I'd sneak inside her office, and just can't stay in the bathroom for extended periods of time because it was air conditioned. And then I wandered into the kitchen, and then that later to wandered into the IT room, and that's why I learned to build computers from the ground up. And so I carried that skill set into kind of my later years in high school. By the time I graduated high school, I had already sold at least 6 or 7 of my teachers' computers.
Whoa.
So 1998, went off to college in Miami, a technical school. I knew right away I didn't want to take the traditional path of learning where I had to take 8 subjects and electives and do the 2-year, 4-year, 6-year kind of train. I wanted to have I was very specific. I was into technology and IT, and I wanted to learn that for 8 hours a day, right? So went to college, and DirecTV had just came out. The DirecTV dish had just came out. So I went down to this store in Miami to buy me one of those dishes so I can hook it up at my condo. And they had 200 channels, and so it was just the biggest phenom ever. And as I was loading it into my car, this guy asked me, the sales guy that served me came back and said, "Hey, do you need help getting it set up?" I said, "No, I'm a technical guy." Anyway, he said, "I got a guy who can help you set it up, and you can get some channels and everything." And so I took the number. The guy came over, and he programmed my card, and all I saw was all the channels came in. And I became obsessed over this DirecTV kind of installation and thing. So he taught me kind of how to install the satellites and all that. So 42 days later, I dropped out of college and started to install satellites because
Where? In
Miami, because I was making like $800 to $1,200 a day just off of installations because DirecTV had backlog of installations and clients, and everybody wanted the satellites now, and that really just started my entrepreneurial journey. Came back home. My mom didn't know. I didn't find out I dropped out of college until probably 7 months later, and they flew to Miami in a panic because I got caught in Nassau. I used to fly to Nassau on weekends to service the local customers here and sell them satellites and install them, and fly back to Miami, unbeknown to my parents, until one day I got this page from someone, and they wanted a complete system, and my flight was at 6, and this lady was adamant she wanted the satellite today. I took the directions down, went to the house, and it's my mother's boss. I had no idea where I was going. She had no idea who she was calling. I installed the satellite, left, and man, that week my phone was blowing up.
It was your mom.
My mom wanted to know why I'm in town, what's going on, how could I be in town installing satellites, and I didn't answer for a week. Her and my father flew said they were coming to Miami that Friday to come and see what's going on with me. That time I'd been dropped out of school for 7 months. So I go down to Citibank, and I get this manager's check for $30,000 payable to my father.
Mm.
They walk in, and I went back to school and I took a picture of me standing in front of the college, right? And I put that picture, a Polaroid picture, in an envelope. And when he sat down, just I guess I slid him the envelope. So he pulls out this picture of me in front of the school. He's dumbfounded. And he pulls out this check and he's like, "Oh, I told you he's doing drugs." I knew. I'm like, "Wait, calm down, guys." No.
Tony Montana.
Yeah, like, calm down. I said, "Listen."
Hello, family. You know what frustrates me? I've seen businesses and entrepreneurs spend months and thousands of rands trying to build a website, trying to build an online store, just so they have some sort of online presence. And at the end, all they've done is they've created a headache for themselves and they still hate the results. And the reason is because for many of us, we're not techies. So it's slow, it's clunky, it doesn't reflect your brand, your dreams, or your ambitions. And let's not even talk about how expensive it can get. And I think here's the mistake, right? The mistake is that for those of us who are not techies, we think that technology has to be complicated to be powerful. And that's the lie. The future of business is in simplicity. So, I want to introduce you to Odoo's website builder, and I want you to go and check them out. You don't need to be a designer. You don't need to be a coder. You don't need to spend thousands of hours sitting behind a screen trying to figure out how to make a certain language work with another language. All you do is you drag, you drop, and suddenly your business has a website that would even rival a website built by a high-end professional agency. So you can change your colors, add a logo, drop in photos if you want. You can animate some of your headlines if that's what you want to do. Whatever it takes that you think it'll take to bring your vision to a digital storefront and bring it to life. The idea is that the tech should work for you, not against you. And remember, you can do it today, not 6 months from now. By the way, the first app that you get on the Odoo platform is free for life. I know, that's a really cool deal. If you want to find out more, the link is in my description. Click on it, contact them, start building your website, start bringing your dream to life. Go from idea to execution. This is the season. Cheers.
He said, "You see that picture, Dad? That college has been around for the last 30 years. And God will have it, that's going to be around for another 30 years. And if I'm making a mistake with my life, that $30,000 is for you to send me back to college." So I was like, "What are you doing?" And I explained the whole thing to them. They were both disappointed. They felt that I was throwing away my life and all that. But that was the turning point. I was free. And from that point on, I never looked back.
To be clear, how old were you at this age when this happened?
I was 19.
Incredible.
19 years old. And then, I was free now. And what I did was, someone had told me about the CES show in Las Vegas, Consumer Electronics Show. And that's where, all the latest tech and things are showcased. Flew to Las Vegas on what was the longest flight of my life. Now, I learned later, I could have probably taken a direct flight. But, you book it online and it's $548. But it went from Nassau to Miami, Miami to St. Louis, St. Louis to Arizona, Arizona to Las Vegas. I had like 3 stops for a 4-hour flight. Right? I had no idea. And at CES, that was another transformational point of my life. I met this company called Opal Manufacturing. They were a phone card manufacturing machine company. And I didn't know what I was going to pick up the pamphlet, just intrigued by the fact you can stick money in, you press a button and the phone card dispensed, right? And this was the days when, prepaid just becoming popular. You scratch off the number, you load it on the phone.
Yeah, you got a little plastic wrap.
Yeah, and long distance calling cards were a big thing then. So they specialize in dispensing machines for those. So I picked up the pamphlet. Lo and behold, a couple of months later, the local telco company announced here that they wanted to launch prepaid cellular. So light bulb went off in my head. I said, they're going to launch prepaid cellular. They're going to need distribution. So I got back to that company and I started to get more information on machines. I bought like 30 machines, and then I put them in petrol stations, supermarkets, pharmacies. I became the number one distributor for phone cards. And back in those days, they had only a $20 card, but they gave wholesalers 35% margin on the cards. And we were buying $20 cards for $13. So, and phone cards in those days were selling like hotcakes. Just 32 cents a minute. So you don't get much talk time out of 33 cents. This is before data and all that kind of stuff. So, and then after that, it was real estate. Real estate, it was gaming. And then I just became, once I got formula, I just became business accosted when we professional this one.
Run me through, how did you go from being the person in the business to being the person founding and starting a business?
Ah, boy, that was you grow out of it. And I didn't have anyone to teach me the way. You found a way on your own. Pain, when you feel pain, you learn fast.
Amen.
And I think for me, I was fortunate enough to always was the disciplined one to put in. Like I lived my 20s and my 30s. So my 20s was all about business and focusing on business. I put in the hours, and as I needed help, I had the humility to know what the things that I wasn't good at and the things that I didn't like to do.
Sure.
And that was one of the key strengths I learned at a very age. Things I always found onboarded resources, things I was not good at, and things that I didn't like to do, and layered that on, and just started to kind of grow teams. And as you go from business to business, you realize that there's never no shortage of good ideas, and you have to learn early on how to say no to something. I didn't do a really good job at that at an early age, because when you have a success rate, you think you can be successful at anything.
It's true.
And I think you realize that there's so much more that you can do. But if you're gonna limit yourself to being the CMO, the COO, the CEO, and every O that's there, if you're one trick pony and that's all you want to do for the rest of your life, maybe that works.
Sure.
But if you want to scale and be disrupted and be able to capitalize on multiple opportunities, I had to become good at drafting top talent. And it's easy to say now because top talent comes out of Christ. But when you get at a certain level, you realize that it's a blueprint. You no longer, if I start a business today, there's no version of me ever being the CEO. I'm 0%. Like, I'm always out of the equation. My formula is, I know, I need ops, I need finance, I need the overall kind of leadership. You need that kind of market there, and then you always need that kind of Olivia Pope, kind of the chief of staff, if you want to call it. It's probably a fancy that guy that called girl that can get it done and keep the glue together and be that liaison between that. So every business I learned, I failed. The areas where I failed, I was able to learn very quick, fail fast, plug that hole, and not repeat those kind of things again, and just continue to kind of scale. So once you have that blueprint of what a team needs to look like, and success comes from it.
Run me through your most traumatic business experience.
Oh man, how much time do you have? My most traumatic business experience.
You still get ulcers thinking about it.
Wow. I mean, I think it would be the gaming industry. I mean, that's one of the larger companies that we have. That one was that took a roller coaster, man, because
Island Luck.
Island Luck, yeah. So that's we're the leader in online gaming and lottery in the country. And when I saw that business, many of you 16 years in now, so 16 years ago when I decided to get into the business, culturally, the purchasing of numbers, it's been something embedded in our culture for many, many years. When I was born, you always hear these stories about Bahamians, someone dies, like, oh my God, that's so sad. How old was she? And then they say one place to bet on the age, right?
I remember that, yeah.
So,
when was she born?
Yeah, that was embedded in the culture. And when I was looking at it, and I always liked games of chance when I was younger. So when I saw the industry, I saw an industry which is kind of the wild, wild west. And for whatever reason, we had a law in place that didn't allow Bahamians to go into the land-based casinos, even though they're in our country. And I always thought that was kind of a form of discrimination to a certain extent. And while, gambling has its dark sides and, has its entertainment sides, at the end of the day, we're all adults and we have the right to choose. And, so I wanted to bring it a part of the form of the content. I didn't like how, we were being kind of criminalized or demonized for practicing in the same practice that a guy right down the street is doing as a part of leisure. So came into that, and right away he started to make traction. And then the government decided that, they wanted to make this regulate this industry. So, but they only wanted to do it via a referendum. And, with the amount of people that were gaming, we thought it was 100% sure that this referendum was a failure indeed. You think about it, we have a population of about 375,000 people. And you take out the kids, that's probably 150 of that. You have 225 of that. 100,000 people are gaming on a daily basis, right? So, and how do you not win a referendum for those types of laws? But anyway, we went to a referendum and we lost.
Oh,
so here we had it, this industry that was just informal and just in pockets of society, going about its business. Nobody really cared. It was a part of our everyday culture. And now we brought it to the forefront for a national vote and lost. Then the prime minister was in a conundrum at that point, even though he was, pro-regulation, there was the vote said no. So he ordered all of the gaming things closed. So that was, that was a very traumatic moment, because now, we always felt, oh, we should have just left it alone, leave it how it was. Why did we wanted to go and play the hero and all this? But, what we ended up doing was we realized that the referendum was flawed, because you can only hold a referendum on constitutional issues. And gaming wasn't in the Constitution. So therefore it was nothing more than an opinion poll. And then the government, for successive years prior to, had collect taxes from us for the last 8 years or whatever. So they created what we call a legitimate expectation, right? Almost like it was
great legal precedent to argue in court.
correct. So, we went to court, and we cited a whole lot of stuff. The court sided with us and put an injunction against the closure. And we kind of were operated in that state for a year and a half, and then the government decided it was in the best interest of the country. There was too much money operating outside the formal economy. With all the things that are going on in rural financial report and all that, they felt that it was serious. It's better to have it inside. But you went ahead and regulated it. And so that moment of where you built something and just like at the next morning, it can be gone. It was a very kind of dramatic moment. And I mean, it goes on. The story of that, just the growth of Idle Luck and the challenges that we face as an industry, it was just ongoing.
So the government, so there's this referendum that takes place, rather than told you about to shut down your business. Run me through, how do you go back to your team, tell them what's just happened?
Boy, how do you go back to your team? Listen, you look in the mirror, leadership is, I think a lot of people underestimate what are the true qualities of a good leader.
Yeah.
If the company is in the green and you're meeting all the KPIs and everything is targeted, I mean, I can give you about 1,000 guys that can run a business like that.
Yeah.
Right? When things are good, everyone shines.
Yeah.
Leadership is tested when challenges come. A pilot makes 6 figures not because he can take off and land a plane. Pilot makes 6 figures because in an emergency, he's paid to rise to the occasion and get those people down safely. So when, I didn't have the luxury to buckle and complain my way. Oh, the government. No, I had to now pull up my big boy drawers, and I called myself a CEO, and whether it's self-proclaimed or whatever. And I had to pivot. Like now obsess on the problem. This is the problem. We have to close. How do we not close? Not who's making us close, what we shouldn't have done. We should, like, if you go in the pit of shit or what, you blame this victim mentality. What keeps all of us far? We blame governments, other persons for where we find ourselves in life. We don't take personal accountability. So quickly took personal accountability, and we saddled around. And fortunately, one of my colleagues, he was cautiously optimistic about the referendum, us winning the referendum. And so he prepared for a loss from the onset. So he had a whole legal thing ready in case he lost. So we were able to fortunately leverage that almost in 2 days afterwards. So his kudos to him and being prepared. But that's really was the saving grace, the whole legal argument that gave us time to regroup.
get out further. For the entrepreneurs watching this, one of the things I find most interesting about you is, whereas many of us say, I'm either in business or I'm in politics, you've found a way to straddle these two worlds without them ever conflicting. We've served in ambassadorial roles. I know at a point you were supposed to come to my country in South Africa and be an ambassador.
Yeah.
And then I think there was change of government here.
Yeah.
And of course, we had the riots of 2021, and so the things kind of didn't work out. I have two questions. First, run me through psychologically, how do you separate, Sebas, the business person, from Sebas, the policy kind of leader of society? And then secondly, how do you make sure that these two worlds never conflict?
When you get to kind of my level of business success in the country, there's no version of you being away from the politics of it, because politics is comes from the word policy in a sense. The synonym is policy, and if you're not a part of the politics to influence the policy, because a lot of in my space, there's a lot of innovation and of things that are happening in industries that the policy makers may not be exposed to, or the current laws have not caught up with. So, and if you're an entrepreneur and you're a disruptor and you're exposing yourself, well-traveled, and you're trying to bring new ideas into a developing country like the Bahamas is, you have to have that ability to, influence certain policies that can keep us as a competitive destination, as well as, make sure that industries have the policies and legislation that allow them to flourish and grow. So, people think that prominent business people are connected to policy or politicians because it's a self-serving thing. Now, we've seen versions of that throughout parts of the world. So I can see why people would say that. But certainly for me, it's about making sure that we use that leverage to that connection, that influence to lobby for change in either current policy, change in addition to new policy, and making sure that if you have a country first approach. I'm a nationalist before I'm anything else, and I know that there's no version of us building this country without collective effort, and that's through foreign direct investment. That's through the domestic business community partnering with local policymakers and all that. They say that it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes also a village of people to grow and raise a country like that. So our aspirations for prosperity must be backed with the collaboration and we don't get to sit on the sideline and just benefit without trying to influence kids.
Now that we're on this government conversation, how do you fashion for me how you envisage the role that Bahamas can play in the innovation landscape of the world? And some of the innovations I know that you have played a role in launching technology into government and into the civil service.
Yeah, I think listen, at the end of the day, it all starts with education, right? There's technology has leveled the playing field on where or how far anyone in any part of the world can go. Like almost every technology I use or probably you use is imported.
Amen.
You're using Google. Google's not in South Africa. That's right. You're importing that from some other part of the world. Sure. You do a lot of the videography. You probably use a lot of editing software, and all these things are coming from different origins, right? So that's telling you that these talents and these skill sets, these technology are exportable. So if we even, and like I said, for our aspiration of prosperity, even as a country, must be backed with the educational system that supports. So we can build and create the next Mark Zuckerberg if we invest in education and making sure that we always see where the world is going, where the world is, where it's going, and making sure that we're not being left behind, not just from an economics, like macroeconomics perspective. It's making sure that our citizens are upskilled, our curriculum is in sync with where the global demand. There's no point in our curriculum teaching us things that need to destinations that no longer exist. Right. So if we could invest heavily in education, our destiny is going to be endless in terms of what our possibilities are.
No point our education is leading us to a destination that no longer exists.
So there's no point. There's absolutely no point. So I think we've seen, like, in a small island nation of the Bahamas, I think we currently have 4 players in the NBA.
Wow.
Today, actively in the NBA. Small little island like the Bahamas. So that tells you, in track and field, we have 2 people that are gold medalists in consecutive Olympics. So if we invest in our people, the possibilities are endless. It has no, we don't need a big population or whatever. We just need infrastructure that support the desires of anyone that wants to be the best at anything. And that's it.
Talking about the infrastructure that supports the desires of anybody that wants to be the best. 10 years ago, you create Own Bahamas. Since then, you've had Gary Vaynerchuk here. You've had Kevin O'Leary. Last night, you had Barbara Cochran, you had myself. What were you trying to do when you created Own Bahamas? And what's your vision for the role it can play, not only for entrepreneurs here, but also for the nation state?
Well, the fortunate thing for me was I started from zero like everyone else. So I know what it is to have doors closed. I know what it is to be told no. I know what it is for no one to return the call. I know what it is to have a good idea that only you think is good.
Amen.
So
Preach it.
when you've been exposed to all of the pros and cons of being an entrepreneur, and these days solo entrepreneur, you have a good pulse on where the gaps are and where the need is. And everyone is at a different stage in entrepreneur. Right? Some people are just in the fantasy stage. They're like, I want to be an entrepreneur. They have the end in mind, and they could care less about what's in between. You have some people that have already started, but they need some mentorship to tell them what not to do. Right? Some people need funding, and then some people just need advice, business kind of advice. Some people need a door open for them. So I can introduce you to him, and just by that introduction,
the game changes.
The game changes. So when Owen started, it went to go at the core of one of the most issues entrepreneurs face. That's just fun. So we started this Owen this is submit your app. You're going to open up the application process, submit your business idea. We'll shortlist, and then we'll select 10 to 15 people. We'll give you grant funding and mentorship. That's how Own started 10 years ago. When we realized that we were getting like 2,000 applications and we were granting funding for 15 businesses, though we can be proud of starting those businesses, we still had 1,985 aspiring entrepreneurs that really didn't get a shot at going to the next level. So, it's impractical to fund 1,985 more businesses. So, how do we now scale the impact of Own beyond just funding? Because sometimes if information and knowledge is more valuable than the money itself, because if I give you the money and you don't know what to do with it, you can just light it a fire. But if I give you the knowledge, I think it was a thing, and I hope I don't mess it up, but it was this thing I read the other day about, there was 3 things. There was, I think it's knowledge, time, and money. And if you don't have one, you use the other 2 to get the other one.
That's good. That's good.
You mean?
So if you have knowledge and time and no money, use your knowledge and time to make money.
Correct. And if you have money
if you have
and
time and money, you can get the knowledge.
So if you take that principle and layer that into, I think unbeknown to me, that's what I was building. And it only clicked to me when I saw that. I was like, oh, that's exactly what I wanted for Own. I realized that if people didn't have the money and they had the time and the knowledge, they can make money. So Own was designed to basically be multifaceted like that, knowing that I can't give everyone time, I can't give everyone money, but I can't give everyone money, but I can give them knowledge, and they can put in the time, I can give them the knowledge. And when together, we can make the money. So that's when Own Talk started. So we wanted to bring speakers that can share their life story, their failures, their success, and really drop those nuggets into that room and give that knowledge so people can pair that knowledge with their time, and then they would go out there and make the money. And I think, making sure that we bring speakers that have been where these entrepreneurs are trying to go.
Yeah.
And it's been growing ever since. Now we've expanded own for grant fundings to own talks. Now we've added on own masterclass. And this is where we're heavy into technology and making sure that we have these workshops that just go at it and just teach all the latest technologies. We have ChatGPT sessions where we teach them advanced level on really how to use it. CapCut and Canva for all of the creatives and the designer, so that you don't just have this kind of rudimentary use case of it. You sit in the classroom, it's sometimes it's 2 days, sometimes it's 4 days, and you get an expert that comes in and tells you exactly how to maximize and really use these technologies. And we're going to continue to expand it.
Hello, family. I'm so thrilled to share with you some exciting news. My team just scurried into the office and told me that we've reached 1.7 million returning viewers on our YouTube channel. And to all of you, I just want to say Gabon. Thank you. The support you show us and the team really, really goes a long way. And I hope you know this is a team effort. Like, I'm just the guy in front of the camera, really. It's the rock stars behind this who make it happen. Now here's my ask. 66.4% of you that watch the content of the Vusi Thembekwayo channel haven't subscribed yet. I've got a bet running with a team. I think we can get it to below 60% before we hit December. What do I need from you? I just need you to press that subscribe button. That's it. We'll do the rest. If you press that subscribe button, it helps us grow the channel. It means we have more resources. We can bring more guests. By the way, you saw we've launched the video podcast. That's going to be incredible. I've already shot a couple of episodes. Amazing. But also, we can bring more insights. We can record more of our content as we travel the world. And we can just grow and journey together. I really need your help with this. It would really help me. So, I hope you enjoy the upcoming videos. For those of you that have already subscribed, thank you for the love. And for those of you that haven't yet, please do. That's what they say in my country. Please do. Spelt T-U-U. All right. I hope you'll hit the subscribe button. I look forward to seeing you on the other side of this. Cheers.
Amazing. So I'm curious about the mindset that drives the base. Maybe let me take it a step back. Of all of the things you've told me, first where you started, dad taking you to a steakhouse and then you were there for feast days, then to the kid who gets kicked out of school for what he says were non-mischievous reasons. I'd like to see the report from the school. But then that kid, and then now you're in the Adventist school and you're selling them shellfish, which you're not supposed to do. Clearly, chronic rule breaker. And then you're in Miami and you're supposed to be attending class, but you're installing these direct television, technologies for people in their homes. And then you're getting into your own business. Then you're scaling these businesses. I draw this thread because for most people watching this, at the first sign of something like that going wrong, they would stop immediately. So getting suspended from school is society saying stop. That's what a suspended is, right? Parents flying to Miami, parents attempting to tell you stop. And what I notice about your story is there's several times when you have been told stop. You either don't hear it or you don't recognize the language. I'm trying to figure out which of these two it is. So help me understand the mindset of Sebas, that even though the world says, no, don't, stop, not here, if you see it, there's something about you that says, I'm going to do it.
Well, I think, listen, unless you're suffering from some schizophrenia or whatever, or mental health issues or whatever, unless you're suffering from that, 9.5 times out of 10, you know you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So other people might only know the version of you they think, or the version of you they assume, even if it's your parent, but you know you. So I always knew that the advice that was being given to me, I wasn't taking it for a grain of salt, but I know I was misunderstood in my actions, because I've seen people that were troublemakers at school and drop out of college or whatever, and their right reason behind those things were totally different. I have guys that dropped out of college the same time I dropped out of college, but because they wanted to go drinking and partying. I had a plan. I saw an opportunity.
Right.
You know, I saw a window where, you know, where I can, everything that I wasn't taught, other than supply and demand, you know, I saw where there was a demand and that I could supply. And I wasn't taught, but I had this gift. I guess this is a gift from God, not to just, you know, problem solve. And I realized really early on that I saw the world different. And I always have to be very careful how I explain this, because when it comes to formal education and non-traditional education, it varies from person to person. Some people need that structure, sure, need those guardrails, sure, based on the profession that they're going in. Sure. It requires them to go down that path. And college also is invaluable in a way that it gives you that independence. You get to move all the way or go on your own. You build a profession, you build a network that might be the professional network that you could leverage for the rest of your life, lifelong friends and all that. And, you know, you get that exposure and experience, might be in another country and all that. And that has, you know, tremendous value. But there's others that may not be able to afford to go off to college, or that path to the end game, but just not into that. I was a contrarian. You know, I'm just analytical by nature, and I've said, if that was the way, the sole way, it should be way more successful people in. But that was the sole way. And you hear stories about, you know, how it's always the C students, that because, you know, we tend to, and I was a solid C student, like solid, right? So, you know, I will always pass. I always understood, and you know, for whatever reason, you know, going and trying to get the A. I was interested in what I was interested in, and if I was interested in it, you were gonna get all of it. And if I wasn't interested in it, you know, you would get the half of us. And this, you see that in business as well. You know, where if you have that passion and thing, or you'll put your all in it, and if you kind of angle, you just wouldn't put it into it. So my mindset was just always one of a contrarian, and I wanted to obsessed about solving problems. And then when you get that first dose of the result, that when you put that in, you get that reward back. That's it. You become addicted to that problem solving, and getting rewarded for that problem solving. And when it works twice, you know right away that you're onto something.
Speaking of problem solving, when you're building a team, what do you build? How do you think about team construction?
Well, you know, it's different by industry, right? I always pride myself on saying, in order for me, I'm not gonna let a plumber do a carpenter's job, right? If I got a leak, I'm not calling a carpenter. Sure. So if I'm building, for example, an automotive business, sure. So I just recently got into the automotive space a year ago. Today we have 40% of the market. How did we do that, right? Well, when I decided, before we get into how we did that, when I decided to go into the automotive space, I have zero automotive knowledge other than I like cars, I can afford to buy cars, I drive them, I get tired of them, and then I buy another one at some point. That's my and then, you know, I know how to change a tire. I wouldn't change a tire. I know how to jump a car if the battery is dead. You know, changing a tire and washing dishes is two things I despise. But I know if I need a jump, I can put on the red and black thing, and I can jump it. That's my knowledge of a car. So how does
the red and the black thing?
Yeah, jump the cables. So when I decided that we were going to go into the automotive space, the first thing I needed leadership. So leadership. So how do you profile leadership? Well, I needed to find who's running an automotive dealership, someone that ran an automotive dealership to the level of the standard that I would want to run mine. Ironically, I hired a South African lad He came in. He was running. He ran Honda for 3 years and BMW for 6 years. It already tells me that two things. He straddled across the economic brand, the luxury brand. So he's seen both worlds because you don't want someone that only has one. I mean, you could work with someone. There's the beauty. It's good when somebody has two. So I've seen that whatever they saw in this guy to run BMW, well, they're already bona fide into a certain extent. So, I interviewed him, we get it off. So, so I got my leadership to right. And I worked with leadership to help build the team. I sourced leadership first, and I used leadership to help build the team. Because how am I going to go in? I can't do it without him, because if I start to pick all his team for him, I might have done a horrible job at it. I might not have known what I should be looking for in sourcing the team. So I picked leadership first, and then collectively we start to build the team together. It's two reasons. One, I think I can leverage his experience on how to select the talent. And then two, I don't, when stuff hits the fan, he can't say, well, you gave me the bad team, and that's just why I'm failing.
Sure, I love that. So your model is build the leaders, or rather convene the leaders, give them the vision and strategy, right? And then, in fact, give them the vision, let them build the strategy, and then let the leaders build a team, and then you hold them accountable.
Absolutely. And then for aspiring entrepreneurs who can't go leadership first, right? You can and you can. You don't have to go as big as we say CEO, and it sounds big and grandiose, but I mean, building the leader is as simple as, it doesn't have to be a big 6-figure person. It is, the leader is the person that has the competence
100%.
in what it is that you're trying to do. If you are in a t-shirt printing company, and you find a guy that is working a t-shirt printing company for many years at a company that you regard it does things in best in class, and then you try to get, you hire out of that. And if you can't get it in a leadership role, there's a couple of roles that have a lot of, they're not the CEO, but, they're the ops guy or the day-to-day guy that has a lot of the moving parts, which is that's where you want that guy that's not too far away from the actual work. Because, CEOs at a certain time, there's a distance between them and the showroom floor.
Amen.
You know what I mean? So you want that mid-level guy that out all the fires and the way all the bodies are buried.
So if I were to download that, you're saying find the person who has domain expertise, who understands the operations, value chain logistics. Even if you can't hire at CEO level, that resource will be very invaluable.
Yeah. And then what you can do too is, depending on how good they are, if you've done your research and they're very good, and you can't afford them, what you always can use is you can afford to give them a little bit of guesting opportunity. Right. Because the trick is, though, everyone has aspirations, not just you, and they deserve to have aspirations, right? So that means if you just bring in this guy at some point throughout this success journey, he's gonna want to open up his own t-shirt.
That's it. That's exactly true.
Company, right? So, and you can't fall for that. It's kind of destabilizing to certain companies sometimes, because you got to go and refill the role, up train, and all that. But sometimes you can. Right now, I start off with that model in some businesses where it's applicable, where this is vesting. I learned to do that. In a lot of businesses that I've started, I have a vesting model from the onset. That and that's how you get 19 hours out of persons. Because when you ever heard it say nobody's gonna run the business like you, no, nobody's gonna run the business like the owner.
That's right.
And if they're a part of the ownership,
that's so good.
Then they're gonna run the business like you.
That's so good. So you get a lot more discretionary efforts because you're giving them the ability to earn beyond what's on the paycheck, right? That's really good. Balance. First, do you have any? And if you do, how do you manage it? I know that when we finish here, you're getting on a plane, you're flying to the States, but how do you balance your life?
Well, depending on who you ask, they'll probably have a different version of balance. I think I I try to be as balanced as I can. Like, I don't work 19 hours a day. I have 2,000 employees. If I'm working 19 hours a day,
There's a problem.
There's a problem.
Yeah.
In Houston, we got a big problem. That means I have leaders that I can't rely on, and so I think I spend I have a 1 month vacation. It's non-negotiable. I go away for month. Answer little to no emails. I won't go on a Zoom unless I absolutely have to. So I have that part that's off there. Then
What are you doing the month?
I just go to Europe, go to Wimbledon, watch me some tennis, and just travel around Europe with my kids and, expose them to different parts. So it's
Tough life, but somebody's got to live it.
yeah, well, you work hard, you work hard. If you don't do that, what are you doing it for? I always say, I'm not going to wait for no man to teach my daughters, to show them how to see the world. I'm going to be the man to show them how to see the world. So when a guy comes and tries to you use material things and with them, they've seen it before.
Yeah.
Not because they come from me, it's just because I've exposed them to these things, and I try to take them to when we travel and make sure that there's a right amount of fun and a lot of culture mix in there. So I drag them to the museums and we had to look at the statues and because I didn't have that. I dated a girl when I was in my late 20s. And she was the one that really like unlocked because I would go into I travel the world. And when I land, where's the mall? Where's the club? Where's the fun? That was, and it wasn't until, again, in these conversations, you start talking about all these different places we travel and people say, oh yeah, I've been to Turkey. And they start talking.
Yeah.
And it's like we've been to two different destinations. And when I used to live in DC, when I travel to DC, I'm thinking, oh yeah, we're gonna go out or whatever. We go to a museum. I had to go to look at statues and all that. And, oh man! But over time, I was able to start to, I was just never exposed to that level of interests.
That's good.
In certain other cultures other than my own. Kind of a very selfish. Even though I was well traveled and all that, I never had an interest in it. And nobody stopped me and said, let's go do this. Because my friends, my circle or whatever, we had our version of what fun and experiences were. And it just didn't fit the mold.
Yeah.
So, that really started to, I would say culture me a lot more. It make me curious about where I travel and what I want from travel. So now I'm able to pass that down to when I travel with kids. Yeah. So, balance is very important. And I take my time off. Like I am leaving right after this podcast to go to Miami. Because I'm going to Miami to watch a football game. So, that's balance. My weekends are now my own now. I don't work on weekends. And but listen, whatever needs to be done, I'll always be there to do it. And in the morning, 7:30 to 8:30 is my workout time. I don't take meetings, calls. Nothing disrupts that. So I treat my personal life as much as I can because I don't want to seem like I have it all figured out. Just like how I approach business, right? If something important and opportunities comes up, we will change everything to pursue it. If there's a conference that we always want to attend for business, that's locked in. Nothing's going to change you from going to this conference that you go to annually and all that. So why can't we have that kind of strict appointment with our health, right? So I stopped.
Very good point.
Yeah, so I stopped dieting and I made a lifestyle change. 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning is my health times, and that's it. And that's so still work in progress. Having conversations like this, talking to other persons and learning from how they hack life. They say you're never too old to learn, never too young to teach. So, I'm still growing as a person. I don't let the bike it's on balance fool me into thinking that, I have it all figured out or there's no more room to grow or all that. That's ignorant. So I'm just gonna continue to, keep God's plan and learn where I can learn and be a lifelong learner, whether that's in health, whether that's in business, whether that's spirituality, whether that's a relationship. I remember in my younger days, I think relationship-wise, I always have to tell this story because it was interesting how I was described. I was once called emotionally unavailable and emotionally constipated. I think that was
Who called you this?
oh my ex-girlfriend. I mean, she gave me both names actually. She gave me both names.
What's
So
the same one who took you to the museum?
yeah, she was. So
Because that's a really nice, that's like an educated.
she had me saved in her phone as emotionally unavailable. So I dedicated the rest of my life to becoming emotionally available.
That's so good.
So if you're watching this, thank you.
Before I let you go, legacy. You've built the kind of infrastructure foundation that's multi-generational. How do you think about legacy?
That's a very easy question. Very easy question because I don't know. Like I said, it's I have these kind of profound moments that I always remember them. Like they're like milestone, man. They come organic. I remember turning 40. I remember turning 40, and it was almost like a light switch went off in my head. And my perspective on the I don't know if you do the math, right?
Mhm.
The average life expectancy of an African American man is I think about 76 or 78, somewhere around there. So when you turn 40, you got more years behind you than you got ahead of you. So you gotta stop living your life in years, and you live them in summers.
Yeah.
So I start to say, all right, well at 40, I got 38 summers left, God's willing. And then it was a so legacy has always been, how do I, do a lot of successful things so that people can remember me when I'm gone, and my children, all that. And somewhere along the line, I tell you, you're never too old too young to learn, always teach. And I was somewhere, and legacy was always on my head. So I was trying to figure out how can I start to make an income while making a difference. So I changed that philosophy I developed when I turned 40. So everything I started to do from then is that I started to focus on businesses where I can make an income while making a difference. I'm in the automotive space. I have Henry Ford's motto. I took cars from a luxury item that was designed back then. His motto was he wanted cars to not be a luxury and be affordable by the masses. Right. Somewhere in the Bahamas, cars became a luxury commodity. So bringing affordability back to cars, my version of making an income while making a difference. But most importantly that was kind of the foundation of how I was thinking legacy. And I started to invest a lot in education. I wanted my legacy to be not what I achieved, but what I allowed others to achieve. So, and then what really summed up and clarified clearly what my legacy and my mission should be from here on out was I wandered into a church. And now this is a church that I should have never been. Not that I don't go to church. I should not go to this church because this pastor has been against me from time.
Incredible.
Yeah, just attack. Just for a decade straight.
Really?
Anything I do, he speaks out against it, right? A pastor, right? So hey, but we're cordial when we pass each other, but and listen, he's against me, and he has all the right to be against me and all that. And it was.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it was more in that realm. So I never really took a personal issue against his personal religious belief. I think everybody has the right to believe and preach what they want to preach. So it was no bad blood there. But we're not brawls like you say with the kids, right? It's so bro there. And a friend of mine told me he was talking about church. He was explaining his church, and he's like, "Yeah, man, you should come." And I was like, "Oh no, I don't mean that guy. I don't think that's a good idea. I stay my way and all that." Anyway, a week later, called me on a Sunday morning because he needs some information on something, and then he just gone small talk. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I was home. So I'm getting ready for church. You should come." And then I felt a little guilty because I had absolutely nothing to do. Here it is, someone inviting me to church, and I know God's listening. And I was like, am I about to lie right now and make up an excuse not to go to church? When I tell you I had nothing to do, I had nothing to do.
I can imagine God opening the window going, "Sebas,
I was like,
I'm watching you."
I'm like, what? I ain't no coward. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's church. I don't think this guy means any ill other than his beliefs against the game on the side. I put on my clothes, went to church. Walked in, saw him, he shook hands and sat down. And his PowerPoint started to come up. And the first thing came out of his mouth was he did this segment on prospering with purpose. And by the time he finished that lesson, everything that I was feeling, how I'm developing my legacy along the way was just 100% clarified. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And if you talked about, I'll give you a simple episode for a minute. It's like when you prosper and with things, buildings and businesses and all that, that's the earthly prosperity. Where to prosper with first purpose is not what you leave behind, but what you leave in motion.
Oh, wow.
Right? So
oh, wow.
So now my legacy, and that's what I was trying to do, but I didn't summarize it up in my own mind, as clear as that. So what do you leave in motion? So when you die, okay, you own this building, but is this building producing the next tech legends or whatever like that? What do you leave in motion? So that's how I define legacy now.
It's powerful, man. Building things that you can leave in motion.
Yeah. And not behind.
Okay. Last question. Every entrepreneur I talk to has one idea that they hold to be true. What's yours?
Wow. From Steve Jobs. The ones that are crazy enough to think that they can change the world, that's the ones that always do. Yeah. So mine is, I'm crazy enough to think that I can change the trajectory of the country and build a better Bahamas. And so I hope I'm right.
Amen. Amen. See, that's good and honor to have, brother.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.